Life is fast-paced, and Screenless makes it easier than ever to stay connected. Our device-free technology helps you reach your goals and get stuff done. The future is Screenless.
This is the type of student work I really respect because there were some chances taken here, and honestly, I'm terrible myself at checking my work, and some of the flaws I saw had to do with that. So for example, the blending modes are not consistent. The track, by the way, is pretty good overall, and even the button presses and the way they're indenting the skin, and we're doing some shadows and everything is great to support that. This is set with a normal mode here, and then in other shots we have a multiply, which gives you more of that tattoo look but takes away the white. If you wanted the white of the text, then you could duplicate this, switch to a lighten mode, and then just dial it back in with opacity. I know it's really simple, but that works, and that would let you decide how far you want to go toward tattoo like that and how much you want to be like a sticker. And I think the sticker was undermining what was overall a really strong effort here to make things organic, although later that went a little too far. Still going shot by shot, something a little odd happened. I think it was on this shot. So the finger doesn't seem to have any motion blur here, even though motion blur is applied for the layer, and it seems to be set with a mask. However, if I look inside the Mocha effect, we also have apply matte checked on, and that is overwriting that mask. So all of that beautiful motion blur is lost. And for what, I ask you? Let's take a look at this without that limitation, and I think, but the tattoo quality is in full effect here because this was with a multiply effect. So again, we probably wanted a combo of the two. On the next shot, here my main quibble is with placement of the element. It feels small and awkward, kind of low on the wrist. I want to see better what's going on, but also I want it to not be awkwardly placed, and I want there to be continuity with the following shot. Now here, this is very interesting. So bold choice to have this thing actually warp and deform with the contours of the wrist. I think this puts us firmly in what is known in other circles as the uncanny valley, where on the one hand it might seem to be in some way correct, and yet it just feels weird. And given that this technology is already a little strange, and again this time we have yet another blending mode. This time we're using hard light, so again I would get a little more streamlined about that. I think that this is where I applaud the boldness of trying this, but it made me feel a little uncomfortable, honestly. And then here at the end, I also applaud not being afraid to do a bit of compositing to just get the logo to go where you want it. Here it gets nicked by the edge of the coffee cup, and that's great.
Life is fast-paced, and Screenless makes it easier than ever to stay connected. Our device-free technology helps you reach your goals and get stuff done. The future is Screenless.
This one is pretty strong overall. There are a few little bumps in the tracks, but I just want to call out some things that might be helpful to others who worked on this. One thing I did want to say here, this type of organization of the main timeline is okay, but I liked that last project, if you noticed, where this main timeline only had one layer per shot and each shot was in a subcomp. Because now when I dig down in here, if things are twirled down, I have to start doing a lot of scrolling to figure out how deep stuff even goes. This shot was the most challenging for a lot of people in terms of tracking. And let's just take a look. So this student in Mocha was actually able to nail it, and I saw a few different passes in this project, but just getting it down to this very small area that stays consistent enough that it worked as a basis for the track. So good persistence on that one. And overall, the look of this, I think, is pretty good. I wasn't crazy about the stroke around the edge of the interface, even if that was there in the design. I think it's kind of blowing the gag here. This doesn't look as integrated to that wrist as it would without that. There might also be something about getting a little more of the shading in here. I know that was a big challenge with this, but again, this is feeling a little bit more like a sticker, and I've already shown you if you really want to make it tattoo-like with that multiply mode as a basis, you can do that. Here, there seems to be too much motion blur on this finger because so much background is showing through until you look at the thumb and notice that basically the same phenomenon exists there. So I'm actually not going to fault that, and I didn't call it out. I think it's great. One last thing to keep in mind, quite a number of these had some issues with matte lines over the lighter background. And this is a case with these fingers where this is going to respond perfectly well to that trick where we go matte, refine hard matte, 0, 0, 0, no motion blur, and then increased contamination until those matte lines just go away.